Hi, and welcome to the Cell Block. I'm your host, Iron Mike, and today we're going to talk and do a little quick clip on what it is to be a correctional officer. You may be thinking about putting in for a correctional officer, might have some questions. I'm going to highlight a few things during this next segment on what it is and what you can expect to be a correctional officer. Number one, what is a correctional officer? Whether you're in a jail, county, state, or federal system, correctional officer's job is to keep the inmate inside the secure confines of the institution. That is your number one priority. No matter what your job title is on the inside, your job is to keep the inmates away from society so they can complete their sentences. How you do that is the job of a correctional officer. And we're going to go through those things. Now, most agencies do a background check. So you're going to want to check to make sure that your credit is good because sometimes they check your credit and sometimes that puts people out of the loop on applying in the application process. So you want to make sure you have that. Also talk to your family on how they feel about being a correctional officer. Being a correctional officer is not like it is on TV. The inmates are not in their cells 24/7. You're out amongst the inmates. You're in daily contact with the inmates. So you want to make sure that you don't have this thought process that most of the public does, is that the inmates are in their cells, the correctional officers carry guns inside, because that's just not right. You have a radio, set of handcuffs, possibly a taser. Some agencies do. Most agencies don't. Most agencies have radio and, if they're lucky, a set of handcuffs on their person. That's it. That's all you have. Now, before you put in for the job, talk to your family about the possibility of you being taken hostage. That's a strong possibility. Most institutions have never had a hostage situation. But a prison is a prison, and an inmate is an inmate, and given the right circumstances, a hostage situation can be expected at any time. Okay, so you need to be aware of that. Also, correctional officers have high suicide rates. They have high divorce rates. Their length of life is shorter compared to other jobs. But does that mean that you're going to fall into those categories? Absolutely not. Okay? So don't let that deter you. Also, you're going to talk to staff who've been correctional officers or who are in corrections, and they're going to complain. Okay? They're going to complain that there's mandatory overtime, they don't get credit, the administration sucks. Okay? Don't listen to them. I always couldn't understand those type of people who worked inside. It's like, there's the door. Why don't you go find another job? It doesn't make sense. Why would you sit here and torture yourself coming into a job that you hate so much? Okay? But some of the stuff that they say is going to be true. For example, there is mandatory overtime, especially with this COVID going on. Most institutions are short staffed and they have to issue mandatory overtime. That means that after your 8-hour shift, you may have to stay a few more hours or another shift. Now, if you're not used to that type of work, it's going to take a toll on your body. Okay, I can tell you that right now. So, some people like it though. They like the extra money. Others don't like it. Others don't like to be told to work. Okay, versus asked to work. But most of the time in the prison system, if there's overtime and nobody wants it, somebody's going to have to stay. You can't vacate a position in a prison, so somebody's going to have to be told to stay. Now, Make sure you check all that stuff before you even apply. Once you apply, and if you get accepted, you're going to go through some training. Most institutions have localized training. Some of them have localized training and a training academy that you have to go to. Sometimes you go to the training academy first and then you come back and do some localized training. Whatever it is, I can tell you in my 33 years, I've had a handful of what I would consider good training. I'm all about training. I think it should be hands-on as much as possible. I like hands-on training. If you're going to use a piece of equipment, you need to use it and show staff how to use it. Most of the training is slideshows or reading, um, or they don't provide the training because they're short-staffed, and which is always an excuse that I didn't like to hear. There's always ways around it. You can't tell me any different. I've done it for years, and I like the hands-on approach as much as possible. But are you going to get the training, all the training you need? Probably not. That's why I have this training site. I have seen other videos on other groups that put out training. Try to absorb as much as you can because it will help you. Once you get inside, you're going to have to be doing some things like to keep that inmate inside the prison. We have to control that inmate. So you're going to be doing things like searching. You're going to do what they call a pat search, which means that you are going to go up to the inmate and pat them down to make sure they're not carrying any contraband. You're going to be doing area searches, maybe of a TV room, maybe of a gym. You're going to be doing cell searches. You're going to have to actually go into the inmate's cell and go through his property and make sure there's no contraband. These are all ways of preventing contraband from flowing through the prison to aid them in assaults and escapes. That's a big thing. The other thing is you're going to have to enforce the rules and regulations, and you do that by learning them first, because you can't enforce something that you don't know, and you have to have good communication skills. You have to be able to direct the inmate to do things and answer the inmate in a way that he understands, and you have to learn how to say no. There's going to be lots of different job assignments. You're going to have some institutions rotate shifts, some institutions bid on shifts. It all varies. So whatever institutions you're putting in for, those are some questions you may want to ask during your interview or to your HR department, what the hours are, how they work the days off, so you know, so you can tell your family what to expect when you get hired. Is it a hard job? It absolutely is the hardest job out there. Not everybody can be a correctional officer. Some people like it. I enjoyed the hell out of the job. I got so much being a correctional officer and being in corrections for 33 years. I had to retire due to age restrictions, but if there was no age restriction, I'd still be in it. One thing you want to be able to do is keep the job at work and not at home. You don't want to take it home to your family and that, but you have to make sure that you make up your own decision about the job. Don't ask others because they're going to be disgruntled and tell you it sucks, it's terrible. You got to make up your own mind. What's terrible to one person is not to everybody. They may have had a bad experience. Don't you let that influence you. Go in, make up your own mind, make your own decisions. Okay. Retirement. Most of the places have a good retirement system. It's either 20, 25 years. If you get in young enough, you're able to retire at a decent age. Maybe not have to get another job. Maybe you would get a job, but you'd still be drawing a pension, which would be good. Most of them have a retirement account, like an IRA type of thing, that you deposit money and they match it. Take advantage of that early on, since day one. Um, Make sure you do that so you have a nice retirement when you retire. I hope I touched on a few things, touched on a few areas. I wanted this to be a quick clip. I didn't want to go into too much about it because there's so much it varies from institution to institution that just because somebody worked in one institution had a bad situation doesn't mean that being a correctional officer at someplace else isn't good. So I just wanted to touch on a few things to look at when you want to be a correctional officer. It's not for everybody. You may get into it in a few weeks and decide, hey, this isn't for me. Hey, more power to you. Get out, find something else then, because you're doing a disservice by staying in and being disgruntled. Just poison in the morale and poison in the institution. It just brings it down, and the inmates pick up on that. They know the ones that are disgruntled and bitch about the job. So, um, good advice. Make your own decisions. Okay. Uh, this is the end of this clip. Just like to thank everybody who's watched my YouTube video on communication in prison and also on emergency preparedness and subscribe to my channel. This is my third video, so now you'll be able to search my channel on YouTube. You can search it by typing in the cell block. Um, just a reminder, hit the subscribe button so you can get my videos when they come out in the future. That's it for this quick clip. I'm Iron Mike. Stay safe.